Welcome to Brian's Table, a food, wellness, and lifestyle channel. I'm Brian Singh, and today we're going to delve into two of my favorite things, the long slow braise and offcuts. These two things offer sophisticated flavor for a very reasonable price. Offcuts are those cuts of meat that you typically do not find in the supermarket. You either have to ask for them, or if you're lucky, you find them in the bargain bin. They are not organ meats. They're cuts like shin, shoulder, neck, and cheek. They are meaty in flavor and often rich in collagen. Collagen is supposed to improve skin elasticity, and for those of us who are aging, we need all the help we can get. These cuts, beyond offering a lot of flavor, are very versatile and serve as excellent platforms for the creation of other dishes. Today we're going to braise lamb neck, this beautiful item right here. I learned all of my butchering from the human anatomy component of my high school biology class. The nice thing about lamb neck, right here, it's right adjacent to the ribs. And the ribs are the most expensive cut on the lamb. So you are actually, just by buying the cut of meat next to the ribs, are getting a pretty damn good cut of meat with a lot of flavor for about half the cost of ribs. In North America, we often eat more meat than we have to. And in this age of climate action, we could all do our part by eating a little bit less and using meat more strategically within our diet. And offcuts offer the meat we crave for a lot less money, with a lot more flavor, and also adds to your repertoire in the kitchen. How cost effective is lamb neck? For this single cut here, we're going to get 2 meals for 2 people. This is what we need to cook the lamb neck. First, we need a cast iron pot. I have one which has the enamel coating, but any good cast iron pot would do because it does 2 things. It retains the heat really well and also forms a seal which helps the braising process. Every decent home cook should have a cast iron pot. Typically they cost between $50 to $100. That's really what you should be picking up, especially for one like mine, which has an enamel coating. You could actually spend a lot of money on a cast iron pot. Some of the models by Le Creuset run easily $400. To help you guys, I've included a few links below to some really good quality pots that you can pick up online. The other ingredients include kosher salt. I use kosher salt because it's about 2/3 as saline as regular salt, and it forms a lovely flaky crust for every time you pan-sear meat. Black pepper, and I mix these two together, the kosher salt and the pepper, to form my Dalmatian blend, which I season the meat prior to pan frying. I pan fry the meat in a neutral oil. In this case, I use sunflower oil. And once I finish that process, we move on to using the rest of the ingredients, which include chicken stock, aromatics, and in this case I'm using onion, garlic, celery, and carrots. Don't use really your best carrots. You know, if you take off for a month and you find the carrots at the bottom of the fridge, yeah, use those. Just clean them up a bit, they're good to go. And the other ingredient is wine. Today I'm going to be using a Algianico from southern Italy, but if you're not sure of what you're going to be using your meat for, I would always suggest using a more neutral wine. Typically I would use a white wine, such as a full-bodied Chardonnay, not oaked, or a Chenin Blanc. These are white wines that have a lot of body and provide that satisfying mouthfeel and adds that richness to the sauce, very similar to a red wine. Here we're just going to season. Make sure you get it patted down. Give them a massage. Make sure you get it well coated. Make sure you get it all around. There you go, 360 degrees of salty, peppery goodness. Ready for the pan. For the veggies, simple rough chop will do quite nicely. Okay. Crush the garlic, take out the skin. And aromatics are ready to go. The oven is reading 350, but let's double check what the actual temperature is. There you go, 325. So we've been preheating the cast iron pot until it's really nice at a good temperature for a sear. We use a little bit of oil just to coat the pan, and again just do it until it's shimmering. Don't need a lot, most probably just over a tablespoon there. And as always, start by putting the meat away from you. And what we're going to do is we're going to sear every side of this meat. Each side would take about between 5 to 7 minutes, but it gets faster, so overall count on about 20 minutes to really sear the meat and lock in the flavors. At some points you really just have to hold it in place to make sure you get the right sear. The smell is incredible. We're almost done here, and as you can see, the meat is beautifully browned. That's a result of the Maillard reaction for those technically inclined. But one of the fun parts of when we get down to braising, I'm just going to show you one thing here. If you look down here, what you can see here is a bit of white. So what the braising is going to do, it's going to extract out all the marrow out of that bone. So when we use the meat in any subsequent dishes, it's going to add a lot of silkiness and a beautiful, smooth mouthfeel to that dish. All right, we're ready to go now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this out and let this, put this off to the side. I'm going to use that. And what you see here in the pot is beautiful fawn. And that's the residual of the meat, the surface of the meat sticking to the pot. At this time, we're going to do a quick deglaze, and I'm going to use a little bit of chicken stock. Whoa! Beautiful. I'm going to take the meat, put it back down, and then we're going to assemble around it. And we want the veggies to get a little bit of char to add a little bit more personality to the flavor of the meat as it braises. And what we're going to add in terms of liquid, seeing it's about a 2-pound cut of meat, one of the rules of thumb I use is for every pound of meat, when you're braising, maybe use about 1.5 cups of liquid. So we're going to use most probably just about 1/2 cup of wine. A little bit never hurt anybody. This is a really good application of your leftover wine. And then we're going to add about another, just under 2.5 cups of chicken stock. And a little 3 cups of liquid in there. As it's starting to bubble, that means we're coming to temperature. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put the lid on, and I've been heating the lid up to keep it at temperature. Let's put that there, and we're going to just put this in the oven. $325, and we're going to give it most probably 2.5 hours. Let's double check here. Maybe just over 2.5 hours, and when we come back, we'd have some lovely lamb ready to be pulled off the bone.
Great! The neck is braising in the oven. Now we have some time to fit in some exercise.
So the neck has been in the oven braising for about 2.5 hours. And what we did is we turned off the oven, let it cool off in there. So let's go and get the neck and prepare it for shredding. Let's take a look at this beautiful lamb neck. Stunning. Let's take her out, put her on the cutting board, and start doing the hand pulling of that meat. Now we're going to remove the veggies and a bit of the fat and keep a bit of that lovely silky rich sauce, so that way we keep it with the meat and keep it moist when we freeze it. Notice there's very little liquid left. That's a sign of a really good braise. One of the best ways of doing this is to get your hands in there and start shredding the meat. Oh yeah. Look at that. And if there's any excess fat, you could always just take it out. Don't necessarily want it too fine. You want to make sure that your meat has some texture. So when you add it to a sauce, it brings that lovely, refined, rustic element to it. So here we go. We're taking out a vertebrae. And you're able to see that. It is a little gruesome, isn't it? Because the meat is so close to the bone, it is just going to be so tasty. I think that's one of the things I do feel that a lot of people ignore when it comes down to cooking meat. Bone adds a ton of flavor. Look at that. That little lamb neck yielded a lot of meat. That's enough for 2 meals for 2 people. My favorite means of storage? Ziploc bags. Little handy tip, always fold the lip of the bag so that way you keep it free of contamination, which makes it easy to seal. And to keep the meat moist, we're just going to add a little bit of that braising liquid. I put the bag on the cutting board and I squeeze out as much air as I can possible. The last push of air out. And something that you should always do with frozen items, make a note on what it is. In this case, it's lamb neck. And the date that you cooked it. Stick in the freezer. Now we have some delicious pulled lamb neck that can be used for a host of delicious savory dishes, such as pulled lamb sandwiches, tacos, and what we're going to do in an upcoming video, make some good old Italian ragu. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that. If you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up, and in the meantime, keep maximizing life's small pleasures. And for those of us who are aging, we need all the help we can get. Sorry. So building on that concept, if you're a cannibal, don't go after the bodybuilder. Too much muscle. Go after the office worker who doesn't exercise. That's terrible. I like it though. That Babish one, Cooking with Babish, he would do like, oh, we're going to do Valentine's dinner 4 ways or three ways. It's like, fuck. Don't raise the bar too high for everybody else.